United States is a leading consumer of coffee. Americans consume 400 to 450 million cups of coffee per day. And at an average price of about $2.38, we in the United States are spending about $1 billion per day for a cup of coffee. Astonishing, right? And if I just talk about raw coffee, not the drink, the United States imports over 5 billion worths of coffee per year. And the trend is only increasing every year, and not just in United States, it's around the world. So why do people like coffee so much? Some like the idea of cafe, the things that can happen over a cup of coffee maybe. Some like their coffee black, some like it with cream and sugar, some like the espresso, some like with almond milk, soy milk, and whole lot of other add-ons into their coffee. So basically a lot of people like beverages that are made out of coffee. But irrespective of that, what lies in the core of this drink is the coffee beans that it is made out of. Welcome to Books and Brew, and I'm your host Mayur Ghatge. And today I'll talk about coffee beans, which are at the very core of all these delicious drinks. I'll talk about different variations in the coffee beans and what makes them different. I'll talk about their origin and what to expect from a drink that is made out of these different coffee beans. So let's dive in. So everyone recognizes a roasted coffee bean, but you might not recognize an actual coffee plant. These coffee beans that you see is basically a pit of a cherry plant which is then washed to get rid of the pulp. It's then dried, roasted, grinded, and then it's brewed to get your delicious cup of coffee. So, all the coffee in the world can be divided into two types based on the variety of the beans that are used to make them: arabica and robusta. So, arabica beans are from coffee plants that are grown at about 800 to 1200 meters altitudes from the sea level, while robusta are the ones that are grown below 800 meters altitude. And arabica constitutes at about 60% of the total coffee production, while robusta constitutes about remaining 40%. So just to cite a couple of countries from the top of my head, so Vietnam, Indonesia has predominantly robusta beans, while Ethiopia, Brazil is home to arabica coffee. And if I have to separate based on the regions, robusta is grown exclusively in the eastern hemisphere, primarily in Africa and Indonesia, while arabica is grown in Africa and Papua New Guinea, but it's grown dominantly in Latin America. Some countries like Brazil and India, they produce both. So coffee grown at higher altitudes, that is the arabica ones, are grown in low oxygen environments because at higher altitudes you generally have a low oxygen in the atmosphere. And that's why these plants end up having 60% more lipids and almost double the number of natural sugars when compared to robusta. So if you want a sweeter coffee, go for the arabica beans. Arabica tends to have a smoother, sweeter taste with flavor notes of chocolate and sugar and many fruity flavors. Robusta, on the other hand, has a stronger, harsher, and a much bitter taste and also has some woody overtones. Since Robustas are grown at lower altitudes, they are easier to grow. They are cheaper because they can be produced more beans per hectare and also has twice as much as caffeine content compared to Arabica. And the turnaround time for a Robusta plant is also much quicker compared to Arabica. And probably that's why Starbucks, which as we all know has a foot around the world, uses Robusta to make its coffee. Robusta coffee is majorly used to make espresso or beverages made out of espresso. And all instant coffee are essentially made out of Robusta beans. On the other hand, if you like brewed coffee, the obvious choice is Arabica, which has this amazing smooth, fruity, chocolatey flavor, like I said. If you just want to differentiate them based on the looks alone, Arabica beans are like more oval, while Robusta are circular and smaller in size. So I know there are different types of beans, and each one has a thing going for them, but which is a good one? Robusta or Arabica? To be honest, you can't pick this over that. So just go out and try. Experiment with single origin coffee versus blend coffee beans. And if you want to achieve some unique flavor profiles, check for blends. Many roasters will create custom blends of beans with two or more different origins and roasting levels. And this provides a different depth to the flavor and also adds to the complexity that cannot be achieved with a single roast or a single origin coffee. So, this ends our dive into understanding different coffee beans. Let me know how you like this episode and if you have any recommendations on different aspect of coffee brewing you'd like me to discuss. My email ID is booksandbrewpodcast@gmail.com. For more such episodes on books, coffee, and beer, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, or my YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcast from. Please do like and rate this show on whichever platform you're listening to. Until next episode, spread the word, happy listening, and happy caffeinating. Music for this show is given by Rahul Thomre.